Hello, race fans. Peter Mackay here, welcoming you to the Apex Racing Academy GT4 VRS Super Series here at the wonderful Oran Park Raceway, a circuit which has been in extinction in the real world for the last decade, but lives on here on the iRacing service. Today, we will see our Apex Racing Academy GT4 runners go head-to-head around this fickle little Aussie circuit. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is Sam Fitzpatrick. Sam, how are you feeling heading into this one? It appears that we've got a little bit of an issue with my colleague Sam Fitzpatrick. We'll get that one all sorted out for you. So our drivers at the moment are in qualifying, 10 minutes of solo qualifying. So quite handy in this particular Oran Park Raceway. Very, very tight and twisty. Not too much room on circuit. So good to have that, have the track on for yourself. At the moment, it is Thomas Wangen for Team Vikings sitting on pole position right ahead of championship leader Joel Evans, who had a great day a couple of weeks ago at Charlotte at the Roval. So let's see if Joel Evans, he's out putting in some qualifying laps right now, see if he can better go one better than where he is and snatch pole position from Thomas Wangen. Let's get him over the line, and Thomas Wangen puts in a really quick time there, 109.233, but immediately Joel Evans goes quicker, 109.177, so 600ths of a second separating the top two right now in favour of the Welshman Evans. As we see, Christensen, Wangen's teammate, puts in a quick lap time as well, a 109.979. Now, if you're new to the Apex Racing Academy GT4 series, we have two types of car available. We have the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 and also the BMW M4. Quite different vehicles. The Cayman has a normally aspirated six-cylinder engine in the middle of the car, and the BMW has, again, a six-cylinder engine, but twin turbocharged mounted in the front. So, in general, the Porsche is a little bit more nimble through the corners, but not quite as quick as the BMW down the straights. And here at Oran Park, well, there aren't many straights. So, as you can see right now, the top six cars, all Porsche. So, a dream day so far for Weissach, as Thomas Wangen puts in another rapid lap time to take pole position back from Joel Evans, a 109.102. Evans goes quicker than his previous lap, but still sits second. So it looks like it's going to be Thomas Wangen on pole position. And do we have a Sam Fitzpatrick with us? Still muted. Don't worry. We will work hard to get Sam back for you. I can promise you won't have to listen to me for the entirety of the broadcast. I'm sure you'll be delighted to know, looking at Roger Christensen on screen, one of the Team Vikings runner. Beautiful number 188 machine, some nice shiny graphics on there. So we see Silcock puts in his fastest lap time of the qualifying session so far, a 109.919, good enough to put the Antipodean Ace in 5th position right now. So 10 minutes, plenty of time for drivers to get out there and put in their qualifying laps. Look at Patrick Sokolowski, of course, he's been one of the fastest drivers in the championship, dominant at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in round one. Unfortunately, had a mechanical failure, a technical failure with his internet connection, one lap from the end in a commanding lead at Montreal, and then went on to win from the back of the grid in race two. Didn't have quite as good a day at the Charlotte Roval, but he's right there in 4th position in the championship right now, and he goes to 3rd on the grid, and hardly anything separating the top three right now, all on a 109.1, just hundredths of a second separating them, but Sokolowski will be right there in the hunt as well. In the AM class, so if you look to the left-hand side of your screen, we have the SDK timing software on the left-hand side. So you'll see any driver with a green icon to the left of their name is in the Pro class, and any driver with a red icon to the left of their name is in the AM class. So in the AM class, it's Mihail Velikov sitting on pole position in class right now, 10th overall. It would appear right now it's definitely a day for the Porsches. The top BMW right now, Matthias Beer, in the very psychedelic Austin Power style livery that he's got on there, or BMW art car if you wish. So we see Patrick Sokolowski, really, he's clearly on a qualifying lap here, going quick. It's fastest of his times in the first two sectors. Let's get him over the line. Can he improve? No, a 1:10, so not going to cut it for Patrick Sokolowski. Oh, my apologies. The timing screen, it is going to cut it. A 1:08.986. Just a little error with the timing screen there. And an error from the commentator as well. Brilliant lap from Patrick Sokolowski, the first guy to break the 1:09 barrier. Let's get Matthias Beer over the line using that BMW Munich grunt over the line. He goes, stays. Now he goes up to 6th place, a 1:09.9. So by far the top BMW. Now I hear some ruffling in my headphones. Sam, do you have a copy, as they say in NASCAR?
Yes, you should be able to hear me now, although apologies if the quality is a bit poor, apologies for that as well. But yeah, nearly through the qualifying session, no real surprise that it's the Porsches at the top of the standings. Should be one of the strongest circuits of the season for them. We visit Daytona Road later on in the season, which should help out the BMWs a little bit, but this is certainly going to be one for the Porsches. Their cornering speed should be awesome. However, because if you do get out qualified by a BMW, it's going to be tricky to overtake them.
That is very true, yes. And here at Oran Park, it's very, very tight and twisty. So, and not too much room to overtake. So, yes, absolutely. If you've got a BMW, you can park it on the apex. So, this is how they line up then for the opening heat race of the evening. Patrick Sokolowski starts on pole position with Thomas Wangen just a tenth of a second behind for Team Vikings. On row 2 will be championship leader Joel Evans and Mike Pollard. Row 3 will be Roger Christiansen for Team Vikings alongside Matthias Beer, the first of the BMWs. An Antipodean pair on row 4, Mark Silcock and Will Newell. Row 5 will be Christopher Hill and the first of our AM-class runners, Mikhail Velikov. Row 6 will be Greg Hubler and Marco Tolman. Row 7 will be Pontus Overstrom and Chris Rear. Row 8 will be Jeff Miner and the Scotsman, Mark Herron. Row 9 will be Aaron Gibson and Jorge Villegas. I think that we have 18 starters for today, which on this almost real-world Skeletrix track, that's 18 cars will be just fine. Thank you very much, Sam.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should have a good race regardless. Of course, we've got the championship to watch out for as well. We'll give you a few more updates on the current standings later on in the evening. But Sokolowski, after a little bit of a disappointing Daytona round, I mean, he did get 2 second places, I believe, on that occasion, but didn't have the outright pace they had at Montreal just a week previous. He's right back on top form today, and it's going to be very impressive if anyone can get near him. As we just see a couple more drivers, Beer and Silcock, just yet to get onto the grid. A few drivers like to opt for this stretch, just leave their rivals hanging around for a little bit longer. I'm sure they'll be there very soon. I don't think I've ever seen a rolling start as well around this circuit. Of course, in the V8s, we always see standing starts. So I don't quite know how that's going to work out. But yeah, I'm sure Sokolowski will be able to manage it from the front. They would have had experience, of course, in the official series last week.
Well, yes, and also, of course, they're being, I would say they're being short-changed of a pace lap. It's not a long way round here at Oran Park, but as you can see on the top right-hand side of your screen, viewers, basically they've got about a quarter of the lap to get their tyres up to temperature, which will not be enough, so the drivers have to be very careful in the early stages as the Porsche 911 pace car takes us away for a very, very short parade, and we'll be ready to go. If you're tuning in on Apex Racing TV or the iRacing Esports Network, welcome. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in to this broadcast tonight. We've got a load of Porsches at the front here being led by the pace car. The field is let free, lights are up, and we are off here at Oran Park, racing down under, and Patrick Sokolowski gets off to a fantastic start with Thomas Wangen right behind him, and Joel Evans has a little look up the inside but thinks better of it, but Sokolowski off to the perfect start in his Porsche.
Yeah, that was the main test, wasn't it? That run to turn 1, but the pole stint always has a good advantage for these rolling starts. Great start for Christopher Hill, up 3 places already. Also Craig Hubler up a couple of places, but I think he may have just been shoved out of the way slightly. Drops back down into 9th place. Matthias Beer right in the mix as well. And actually Christopher Hill, after gaining lots of places initially, he goes plunging. He's rolling downhill at the moment. We've got a couple of others as well involved a bit further back. Chris Rea and well, I think it may have just been Chris Rea involved in that one, but yeah, shame for Hill in particular because he's lost about 12 places right there.
Yeah, Pontus Overstrom, I think, spun there as well. So lots of action here. In course, incredibly undulating circuit here, built on Australian farmland. As we see Joel Evans, wow, getting very, very loose there. Of course, over that crest through the O'Brien aluminium dogleg, the car gets very, very light on its feet. And with cold tyres, when the tyre eventually regrips again, it can be really, really tricky. But tell you what, the Patrick Sokolowski, the absolutely rapid Polish driver, he is cleared away a 1 minute 14.0 from, well, a slow rolling start. That is mighty impressive pace on cold tyres at the beginning of this 25-minute encounter.
Yeah, over a second faster than everyone else out on the circuit. It's pretty ominous, isn't it? Of course, the feature race or the race 2 that we're going to have later on, 14 minutes, worth the same amount of points as this first race, 25 minutes. Of course, we'll have a reverse grid of 10 drivers, so it will be tricky for him to make his way out, but this first race looking very good. Of course, late, lined by grass as this circuit. If you dip well onto the grass, you could find yourself losing a little bit of time and potentially even hitting the wall as well. So see this angle, I haven't seen this angle before from Thomas Wang, and I don't know where we even are, but it's pretty cool. I like this one.
This is very cool. This is right on top of the engine cover of the mid-mounted flat 6 in this Porsche Cayman, boasting 425 horsepower, which is very similar to the street car. And in fact, this car in the real world, you can actually, although it's a racing car, you can take it, you can buy it from your local Porsche dealer and take it to be serviced there as well. Could you believe?
I've been to Silverstone a few times because they have the Porsche Centre, don't they, just by the Hangar Straight. I would love to give one a spin around their little test track. I think they have a few sprinklers out there as well, so no, that'd be lovely.
Well, in fact, my co-host on the Porsche Sport podcast, Kat Impey, is an instructor there, so I'm sure we can try and arrange that, Sam. There we go. Yeah, I see we're networking away on air.
I was having some skeptical thoughts, but nah, if that's part of it, then love it.
There you go. There you go. So we look at Matthias Beer, the German Austin Powers, in that very groovy BMW, and I tell you what, it's got some groovy pace underneath it as well. 6th place right now, first of the BMWs. He's chasing down the Porsche of Pollard as they head through that lovely big crest. I have to say, there's nothing I hate more than a flat circuit. There's nothing better than a proper undulating. It's kind of like a Scottish back road, this circuit, and that's a very good one.
Yeah, I wonder if you could draw a few similarities to Knockhill. I don't know, maybe Knockhill a little bit more expansive than this, but yeah, it's kind of similar, isn't it? Kind of similar. Of course, not as good. That should be stated. I also have the race with Thomas Wangen actually that last time, 3 tenths faster than Sokolowski. We're seeing in this pack, just really tricky to overtake at the moment. Everyone's getting stuck behind Christiansen, who was, of course, outpaced in qualifying by Pollard. But Pollard lost that position early on. It's kind of tricky to tell what their pace is like as they are all bunched up. A little bit of turbulent air cost in these cars. We see it quite prominent in the supercars. The drivers always talk about so tricky to overtaking that in those cars. And with the little bit of air downforce that they have, and it will be the same case for these guys. So it will be a long effort. It might take the full 25 minutes. Even if you are half a second lap fast, it might take the full 25 minutes to eventually make that move. No sign of it happening at the moment, as I think Wangen might be able to take another couple of tenths out of Sokolowski. Sokolowski sets the fastest lap of the race, but Wangen goes another 2 tenths faster. So everyone's pace is getting stronger. But Wangen is really absolutely exceptional, as we've got a little bit of traffic, and that is going to hold up Wangen a bit, as long as he, gets past right at the next corner, so it should be all right for the Norwegian. And Evans also clears in the background. That was just Christopher Hill, of course, who had that awesome start, but he's still on the opening lap because he had to get a tow back to the pits.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be really, really interesting when we come to the feature race. Of course, a mandatory pit stop, which you can take at any moment, and fuel up to the end of the race on that as well. So I wonder if we'll see a lot of people maybe throwing the dice and coming in very early in the feature race to try and get out of sequence and trying to get clean air, because as we've seen, Thomas Wangen, a 1 minute 9.0, that is the pole position time. So he is on, and not often do you see that on lap 5 of a race, that driver basically can equal the pole position time. That is mighty impressive. As we see, oh, sorry, we got a little bit, our timing screen there, we saw Thomas Wangen using so much of the exit on the final corner that the timing screens thought that he was going into pit lane. I said, I do apologise there, folks. I thought that Thomas Wangen had a problem, but he didn't, just using all the exit and more. As we see, he has now got the company of Joel Evans, the Welshman, who's also feels like he's got the pace to challenge.
Yeah, that one was on for a while as well, you're right. He was, it's not even as that you're pushing the corner that much. I mean, the corner's much earlier than the pit entry, although Heron is now dropping down. Mark Heron, he was doing well in the top 10, I believe, but he's dropped back down to 14th. He should, he is back running, though. Is Heron, or is he? Yeah, yes, he's all right. But so, just a little bit of an off there for Heron, maybe down at turn 1, as we might see a replay of it. But of course, it's kind of just preference of driving line down the pit straight, and he was leaving it right to the wall, a long way down the straight there at Wangen, as we see Heron just over judging that corner. So the BMW just behind him overshooting it slightly, and Heron loses a bunch of positions. I think that's 3 places lost right there.
Yeah, did well to kind of minimise the damage once it was happening, just to keep it out the barrier. As we see Joel Evans really putting a lot of pressure, asking a lot of questions of Thomas Wangen here. And for Wangen, it'll be interesting to see if how defensive he drives here, because he'll be wanting to keep the pace up to try and bring in Patrick Sokolowski. But Joel Evans has a little bit of a look there. Of course, it's a little bit like at the Charlotte Road Course there that we saw last time out, where any move that you make, you kind of have to be pretty aggressive, because there's no easy moves here. There's no long braking zones. Even turn 1, it's a kind of fast turn 1 and then into a slower turn 2. But yeah, really interesting challenge here. We keep I keep referencing Skeletric, but we've even got a Skeletric swap over figure eight bridge as well.
Yeah, I think as a minor, is just having an awesome battle. So I'm just saying, I think he's just held on of a strong just now. But yeah, I think the only figure 8 circuit besides is it Irwindale and also Suzuka. Of course, I believe they are the 3 which have cross sides during the. Of course, Irwindale is like one of those demolition derby circuits. So
and Mategi.
To the others. And Mategi, good shout. Although. Does the road course loop over itself, or is it just the oval which loops over the road?
It's the road. The road. Oh, now there's a question. I don't think the road
loops over itself.
Ah, so the oval and the road course cross over one another, but the road course doesn't cross over the road course.
I think so.
Ah. Do let us know in the comments. I'm sure you do, Sam. We know you like a good old YouTube comment, don't you? And I'm sure someone will correct us if we're wrong, which is highly likely, of course. Yeah, but I love some of the stories of some of these old circuits as well, and that's what I love again about iRacing as well. We've got a bit of a big contact here between Pontus Overstrom. He's been in the wars as the Swede as well. Now, who is that in the red and white BMW Pro Class car? That is Silcock. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Silcock was in a Porsche last time.
Yeah, might have to check that one. But as we see what occurred,
I know it's Vajegas. Sorry, my apologies. It's Jorge Vajegas who has been in the BMW the whole time. Ah, well, not good news for the Colombian. Of course, his namesake, Camilo Vajegas, a former US Pro Tour golfer.
That was not Jorge's fault in the sight system. It just seemed like he left all the room on the inside, and yet there was a bit of contact with still Cock or maybe Overstrom, who just understeered slightly and caught his rear corner. They are both underway, of course. Yeah, top 10 is going to be the big issue for these drivers. They were fighting for, I believe, 12th place just before. Mark Henry's back up into 12th place now, so he's benefited quite a bit from all of that. Also, of course, Mark Silcock up into 13th. So you look a little bit further up, Sokolowski still with a 1 second lead on that last lap. They were pretty much all evens, apart from Evans, who was 2/10 faster than the two drivers ahead. He's got to be careful here, Wangan, because if there's the slightest of opportunities for Evans, he will take it. He will be willing to go for maybe a little bit further back, and it's nothing worse than just leaving the door wide open, and you're able to go storming up the inside. And that is what Wangan for Team Vikings got to stop doing. Mike Pollard now is round, and he's lost a bunch of pace, and it's still going on just in front of them. Christiansen and Beer. Christiansen, I think, holding on to that one. Actually, Newell gets him past Beer as well. This was Beer previously battling with the Porsche, and straight round.
Oh, that's not very groovy at all from Matthias Beer. Very uncool. And just punts off Mike Pollard there. And I think what we're seeing, Sam, is that you know, it's such a lot of the corners here at Oran Park, they really do kind of bottleneck. It's so tight and twisty. It's almost like, if you could imagine, a miniature version of Interlagos almost, which is a scary thought in itself.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. I mean, it's like the middle sector of Interlagos, but just the middle sector over and over again. With how undulating it is and how tight and twisty it is. This is looking pretty good. Now, a couple of back markers, I think, involved in this one. Will Newell and then Christopher Hill is a back marker in this, but I think he's the only one, to be fair. The others are all for position. Newell losing over 2 seconds on that last lap to the drivers behind. He's got Velikov for Nayuka Factory, really benefited from all those incidents just before Beer trying to gain back some places now. Who was it that Beer hit round? Was it Pollard? He hit round. Yeah. It was, yeah. I almost thought that Beer, when he was losing all those places, was letting Pollard back past, but it seems like he just had his own issues, probably trying to get past the car that he spun.
Now look at this. This is Mihail Velikov, who, well, certainly made no friends on the way to the top in the AM class at the Charlotte Roval. We know that Mihail Velikov will get his elbows out, but it is really working right now. He is 6th overall and top in the AM class, and he's keeping Matthias Beer behind him in the Pro class, who of course just got involved in that little that tiny little incidents. Now, if you feel sorry for these guys in the GT4 machines tonight on this tight, twisty, difficult circuit, please don't, because in 2006, Greg Crick won an Aussie GT race here in, of all things, a V10 8.3 litre Dodge Viper. Wow. That is a scary thought, isn't it?
I mean, you could probably get an MX-5 round here faster than a Viper, to be honest. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun, to me at least. But a lot of driver skill is needed for that.
Absolutely, and that would have been probably still not for that. Probably would have been close to H-pattern gearbox days, or at least sequential anyway. No, none of this paddle shift nonsense as well. So, yeah, very, very impressive indeed. Also, back in 1982, Alan Jones won the Aussie GT race in a Porsche 935, which is even more ridiculous because they were serious missiles, those cars. But speaking of missiles, Thomas Wangan has just managed to just edge away from Joel Evans briefly. He's maybe just reeling in Patrick Sokolowski ever so slightly. But I tell you what, Sam, the pace of these three guys is so close that certainly in this sprint race, it's obviously all about pace, but in the feature race, I think it's going to be all about who gets the rub of the green on the strategy.
Yeah, it's when you really want some teammates just to help you out in this situation. I remember that a couple of Team Vikings guys got Christiansen in 4th place for Team Vikings. Apart from that, there are no... actually, we've got 2 Samsoid Emerald Colors Factory in the top 10, so I'm just wondering maybe whether they'll work as a team in that second race, because if you come into the pits early, but then someone else comes into the pits early, you haven't really covered any of the track, because you're still going to have to make some moves done. So we'll be fascinated to see if Team Vikings and Samsoid can use that advantage to get past Sokolowski later on in race 2. Gap continuing to come down. The times continue to get better as well. It just got faster and faster, despite the fact that I believe the track temperature might be warming up. We started this race off at noon. So usually on iRacing and in real life, because we have latest, usually it gets warmer and warmer until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm surprised that the tyres and the pace is keeping with these guys at the moment. 3/10 of a second faster for Wangen on that last time round. In fact, Evans absolutely matching him. Hopefully this isn't a disappointing finish because, well, how epic would it be if Wangen could pull off for me for the race win?
Well, I mean, as I say, they're pretty much been on qualifying pace most of the race, and I think Joel Evans has perhaps spotted that as well. That Wangen is really pushing hard, and he's thinking, right, okay, I'll just follow his lines, follow his wheel tracks, and as we saw in the last lap around, matched the time exactly. And Patrick Sokolowski, but we know that Sokolowski's fast as well. He's going to be able to trust his pace. He's really quick, and you know, it's of course absolutely nothing to decide on the cars as well, because of course all the drivers using our Apex Racing Academy setup, so they're all in pretty much, well, absolutely identical cars.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, like we were saying earlier on with the Porsche and the BMW. You know, especially around this cycle, although obviously it will equal out, but no, that is one of the best features of this series, because you have not a whole lot of experience when it comes to making setups. Because the Apex Racing Academy producing some of the best setups, of course, available, some of the best drivers as well, featuring them. And of course, if you like the Porsches, you can check out the sets that Kevin Ennis Jr., I believe, is now doing on Apex Racing Academy for the Porsche Cup car, because he's finished on the podium. He's won a race with an asterisk by it, or certainly ART have say some of the best drivers in that class. So certainly do sign up to Apex Racing Academy if you want to get those top sets. And there's also, of course, the GTEs, the GT3s, loads of single seats as well, few tin tops as well. So absolutely, pretty much all the big cars on iRacing available on Apex Racing Academy. And yeah, this is part of the reason why these guys are going so well. And Wangen has messed it up. He's dipped the wheel onto the gravel and into the wall.
Oh, just the tiniest of mistake there, just really pushing the pace. I mean, they were on qualifying pace, as we said, and that's always, you're right on the limit, and he just stepped his right rear Michelin onto the dusty part of the circuit there. Let's get another look. Great view here from the chopper camera onto the paint there. Just gets it a little bit hot in, and actually it's on the way around, and just when he needs to slow the car down, in fact, far too hot into there. Looked like a smaller mistake than it was, and Thomas Wangen, that is absolutely gutting, because he was going like a steam train. But for Joel Evans, championship leader, don't forget, that's an absolute dream for him. Sokolowski, he's in 4th in the championship, so he'll be getting some good points here too.
Shows how far ahead these three were when Wangen rejoins from that 7 seconds clear of 4th place, and remains in 3rd. Does the Team Vikings machine, but it'll be frustrated about that one. That's a few points lost. Admittedly, we'll start ahead of Sokolowski and Evans for race 2, which could prove to be an advantage, but yeah, still annoying for him there. Evans on that last lap, 0.3 of a second, so that could have been being put off through that by Wangen. Of course, as he was saying, championship leader at the moment, albeit, of course, Sokolowski did have a tricky Montreal round, disconnecting with a couple of corners to go when out in the lead. Classic Nigel Mansell style. And lost lots of points on that day, but Evans was exceptional at Charlotte as well. But yeah, Evans, big Christensen and Sokolowski, the main championship runners at the moment. So Evans might be quite happy with just taking home those 52 points at the moment. This is starting to close up a bit. Newell and Velikov just had awful lap times. What's going on there?
I wonder what's happened. So this is the battle for the win in the AM class. So Velikov in 8th place in the yellow and black Bumblebee paint scheme, with Hubler in the kind of green and red car here, the number 299, and then Marco Tolman, the Dutchman. Well, spot the Dutchman's car, the bright orange BMW, very patriotic. I like that, with the Kamoa. I Fernando Alonso's sunglass branding as well, and also Richard Mille watches. A watch that if you've got, that was close. That was very close. I wonder if there's maybe a tiny bit of contact, but that little bit of contact maybe between Tolman and Hubler has allowed Velikov to escape with 4.5 minutes to go. That could be decisive for the victory in the AM class.
And Mark Silcock catching these guys quick. Silcock's actually been really quick. I've seen him be within about half a second of the race. He is, for most of the race, I think probably the 4th fastest driver out on circuit, but behind the top 3. So he's in 11th, and of course 10th place gets reverse grid pole. So if Silcock can get on with it, then he could catch and pass. He was almost 3 seconds past on that last lap. Overstrom having an issue. He is currently off the circuit. So he will drop down to 14th. It's been a frustrating race so far for Overstrom. He's kind of perhaps a top 12 was possible for Overstrom, but yeah, a couple of mistakes, a couple of contacts with other drivers, and having to tow back to the pits. Now a gap coming down by 1.5 that time round, and also another 10th as well in the opening sector of this lap. But 2 championship contenders, it would be extremely brave from Evans to go for. I mean, I don't even know where the overtaking opportunity is around this circuit, to be honest, because I've seen so few overtakes which haven't involved contact so far.
Yeah, you have to get your elbows out to get a move done here at Oran Park, but I get the feeling that Joel Evans is it's that kind of carrot mentality, isn't it? He's got something to chase now, and he's just clinging on to the back of Patrick Sokolowski, and he's close enough to really kind of match Sokolowski's braking points, find out where he's fast, find out where he's maybe slightly slower, and he looks like Joel Evans is really pressuring hard, but as you say, Sam, to get that move done is really, really difficult around here, but he's in the draft now as they head down the front straight. Another couple of tenths quicker there for Evans, and he's right on the back of Sokolowski now, and Sokolowski, if he makes even the most minute mistake, Joel Evans will be right there.
Another 0.3 of a second pass on that last lap. Wangen's pace really slowing up. I guess he's just happy to take the 3rd place now, because that gap was 7 seconds before up to 10. We'll have this lap and then 2 more. I believe I even get a 3rd one in. Yeah, we'll see. Did get a C in A-level maths, but clearly not very useful in this situation. Evans is almost as close as he wants to be. However, he does just lose a little bit of time so far in this lap, or maybe just maintaining the gap so far in this lap. It's a similar distance to what it was this time on the last lap. We've also got a couple of other battles as well, Newell and Belikov. Also, Silcock nearly getting that reverse grid pole, so we'll tune on that potentially. As Belikov actually now alongside Newell. These two have collided once before already. They had a disastrous lap a few moments ago as Belikov goes the long way round. This would be an epic move if he could pull it off again on the outside. Turns into the inside for the next corner. And here's Belikov, he just loses out. Newell, I think, defending in this situation, but he has to do it the hard way.
Absolutely, and what's interesting about this is that Newell is running in the Pro class and Belikov is running in the AM class. So for Belikov, doesn't necessarily need to be getting in this battle. He is in the lead in his class right now, which is where he's scoring his points. So he won't want to slow himself up. In fact, tagging in on the back of Newell might be a good idea. As we see Matthias Beer, he's still top BMW overall in 6th position right now, but still advantage Weissach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Porsche today. Of course, this little Cayman GT4 based on the very popular 718 GT4 road car, but Joel Evans right on the back of Patrick Sokolowski, and they will take the white flag this time around. I would suspect he's flashing his lights for the car in front to know that he's there, not because he's won. And that is the one of the AM class runners in the Turner BMW livery, which although it's American team, took the inspiration for their livery from the Williams Renault Lagunas in the British Touring Car Championship back in 1996.
Okay. It's a good livery.
It's very cool. Yeah, I like it.
By the way, Silcock up into 10th, so that'll be reverse good pole for Mark Silcock. Great comeback drive from the Aussie. who, no, maybe he's visited this circuit in the past. I certainly know Scott Newton's done, one of our friends at Apex Racing TV, broadcast a couple of series. He's had some experience around here, but yeah, Silcock's certainly doing very well, but Sokolowski just holding on. There's nothing left spare, but it's looking good as long as he can hold on one more corner against his great rival.
Yep, absolutely. This is, I think this is going to be the story of the championship. These guys just seem that little bit of an edge, not giving many mistakes, but it's going to be Sokolowski by an absolute whisker from Joel Evans in the opening race here at Oran Park in the Apex Racing Academy GT4 series. I have to say, Sam, that was a brilliant performance from Patrick Sokolowski. He had a lot of pressure on from both Evans and Wangen throughout the race, and yeah, really impressive drive and showing just his class. As we see, we pick up Mikhail Velikov, the leader in the AM class, Hubler right behind in his Porsche, that green and red machine. But Mikhail Velikov looks to have the edge right now, and I tell you what, the car looking on rails at Apex Racing Academy setup, really making a nice balance for the Porsche. And he comes over the line then. It's going to be Mikhail Velikov taking the win here in race 1 at Oran Park in the AM class. Great drive.
Yeah, I'll have to check out if that's Velikov's first amateur win. He's currently sits in 3rd place in the amateur championship, and yeah, I believe that is his first amateur win of the season, which is surprising. I think he's been on the podium a couple of times as Mihail, but best position of 9th and 10th. But that is much better from him right there, and we'll gain a few points back. Of course, yeah, Silcock getting back to 10th place in the end will be a reverse grid pole, but we'll have a 5 seconds delay. But first, the race results.
So let's have a little look then at our race results here in the Apex Racing Academy GT4 VRS Super Series. Of course, VRS, the Virtual Racing School, one of our sponsors. Thank you so much for their support of the series. So here's the confirmation then. Patrick Sokolowski wins by just 0.4 of a second from Joel Evans. I suspect that battle is going to rage on in the feature race. Thomas Wangen still gets it home in 3rd place despite that mistake. Good pace from him. Watch for him in the feature race too. His teammate Roger Christensen was 4th, and Mike Pollard finished in 5th. Matthias Beer holding up the honour from Munich. That's quite apt with his second name. Will Newell finishes in 7th for Team Iridium. Mikhail Velikov is your AM class winner in 8th overall, just edging out Greg Hubler by just over a second. Mark Silcock takes 10th place overall and will start from pole position in the reverse grid feature race. Marco Tolman was 3rd in the AM class, followed by Jeff Miner and the Scotsman Mark Heron. Chris Rear finished 14th overall, with Jorge Villegas finishing in 15th, both drivers having issues early in the race. Aaron Gibson was 16th, Christopher Hill 17th, and Pontus Overstrom currently sitting tied for the lead in the AM Class Championship. A disastrous first race for him. We need to see if he can recover in the feature.
Absolutely not once Overstrom needed whatsoever, and of course, yeah, having a poor result in that first race is going to leave him plenty to do in the second race. Of course, pit stop expected for these drivers. They have to make a pit stop, but the fuel that they start off with can nearly get them to the end of the race, and so they can pretty much pit on, well, lap 1 and still be able to get to the end of the race. So we're going to have a little look at a VRS advert presented by David Williams, I believe, who is just going to explain to you about Virtual Racing School and the service that they provide. We'll be back with you on Apex Racing TV in just a little bit.
Next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4 three-time champion of the NASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke,
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong,
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
and many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Welcome back to Oran Park, where we have just enjoyed a fantastic opening encounter here in the Apex Racing Academy GT4 VRS Super Series. Our driver's just taking a little bit of a warm-up while we have a cool down here in the commentary box. We're just coming up next is the 40-minute feature race, where we have one mandatory pit stop. And as you said, Sam, you can take that whenever you wish. And I think with track position here and being able to deploy the pace that you have, you need that clean air. And I think we're going to see some of the most interesting strategy calls of the season here at Oran Park.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crucial. I think a lot of luck as well, to be fair, involved in it. You're so dependent on what your rivals do, not just what yourself does. You need to find the fastest way to the finish, kind of second guessing what the moves from everyone else is going to be. And yeah, we're going to find out who goes for that early pit stop in just a moment.
We'll see then. Yep, just as our drivers are eager to go, we'll run quickly through the grid. Mark Silcock starts on pole position alongside Greg Hoopler, followed by Mihail Velikov and Will Newell, Matthias Beer and Mike Pollard, Roger Christensen and Thomas Wangen, and our front 2 runners from race 1, Joel Evans, Patrick Sokolowski, start 9th and 10th. In 11th will be Marco Tolman alongside Jeff Miner. In 13th position will be, once our timing screen adjusts, there it is. The 13th will be Mark Heron, Chris Schreer, Jorge Villegas, Aaron Gibson, Christopher Hill, and finally Pontus Overstrom. Joint championship leader Renan coming into this meeting. He will have a lot of work to do from the very back of the pack. We go through the tiny pace. It's not even a pace lap, it's a pace sector, as our Porsche 911 pace car barely getting the chance to get heated up. And oh, Silcock is taking a little jump there, and he is go. Mark Silcock wanting to get a move on in the number 127 Porsche Cayman. He's got the inside line and the jump, heading down into the sweeper, down towards the turn 2 of Coca-Cola Corner. And oh my goodness me, that's not refreshing. Straight in the wall. Oh, what an error from Mark Silcock for Team Hutch. What a disaster.
I was paying attention to Hubler, who lost it all by himself as well. That was crazy. I know they've had some fosters in between the races, but they've absolutely gone sparing off. So Will Newell into the lead. 3 places gained already for him. 4 places gained for Villegas further back as well. And Sokolowski actually has been... any issues for the front rows early run? Don't think so far. Christensen with a really strong start so far, and Joel Evans actually up 4 places. He was the one I was looking out for. Starts in 9th place, 2nd place in race 1, up into 5th, and so Evans is top of the drivers who were the kind of the front 3 in race 1.
Look at Matthias Beer. Here he goes. He shoves the BMW up the inside of Michael Velikov. And will Christiansen in the Team Vikings Porsche be able to get by as well? He might. He's got the inside line. Does he have the grunt? We know the BMW's got the grunt. Here it goes then. Very, very groovy then. The Austin Powers liveried BMW of Matthias Beer moves to second position overall with Newell out in the lead. But Michael Velikov, he is not disgracing himself at all amongst the cream of the crop of this Apex Racing Academy GT4 series. And I tell you what, Joel Evans, he's got the bit between his teeth as well, up to 4th position already.
Yeah, he's got to be the favourite so far, as Evans got past Christiansen, I think, in the second half of that lap as well. So he's been storming up the order, has the number 1, 2, 4. But you really need to make sure that you don't get bogged down for too long behind Velikov. I think he should be past pretty soon. You can see he's absolutely hounding the back of that 2-2. Ducat as a spin in the background. It's Christiansen, and he's hit Wangen.
Oh my goodness! Oh no, that's a disaster for Team Vikings. I'm sorry, just catching my breath there. Thomas Wangen goes into the back of Christiansen. He came out. It's a blind crest there. There's nothing he could have done about that, and he came over the crest, and Christiansen, well, he was looking at the side door of Christiansen there, and they both make contact. Now, they do have a fast repair, of course, and can pit at any point during the race, and look at that, they both go into pit lane to use their fast repair, get their pit stop done. So, actually, they should be able to, as far as that went, that was... He loses it early there, doesn't he, as well, and then, oh dear, the Team Vikings, Team Awning will be an icy place later on, I'm sure.
Yeah, they might get out the axes for one another later on. Newell, under massive pressure, he's been able to hold off Beer for a few corners. And Beer wants to keep behind Evans, of course. Ooh, as here comes Evans down the inside. This would be race decisive. Surely this is the battle for the race win right now. And the Porsche with the better line. Does he? He's all strong. There's contact between the two of them and budging through. The weaker of the two cars, Evans, managed to force his way past and is up into second place.
Goodness me, yeah. Matthias Beer's BMW looking like a hippo there compared to the vibrant gazelle of Joel Evans. Well, I mean, it really, that was a graphic demonstration. Of course, driver talent from Joel Evans, but the Porsche just so much more nimble through those changes of direction and on the braking as well. Whereas BMW really struggling. Matthias Beer, well, he's doing a great job at the wheel of that BMW, but as you can see from the timing screen, he's the only guy in the top 6 in a BMW, and there's a bit, well, we saw there exactly why that is.
Yeah, I thought Beer might have a good chance of actually winning this race, just because, like I said earlier on, whilst the BMW might be slower, it's a tricky to overtake circuit, and the BMW is a tricky to overtake car because it's so quick down the straights. But I think, to be fair, with Beer struggling for pace a little bit today, partially because of the BMW, I think he would have probably been done through the corners anyway. We haven't seen him move really out that corner all day long. Hill's just gone off the circuit again. Shame for Christopher Hill, because he has such an awesome first lap in race 1, first few corners at least in race 1, and then ever since then it's all been going downhill for him. He's down into 16th place. Wangen actually getting ahead of him now as well. Of course, with the Batsing up front, Wangen might be able to bring himself back into contention. This is the question that you've got. If you're Sokolowski in this situation, do you come into the pit, get your pit stop done, run high fuel to the end of the race, but at least get rid of these 4 cars right in front of you? He's going to try to get rid of one straight away, and that's a lovely move straight away on Velikov.
That was from Sokolowski, but I just get the impression that he's maybe been held up that little bit too long. But now we've got the faster pro runners at the front. He might just settle in now. It's really interesting to see what these drivers are going to do. And I think, considering what looked on the face of it as a complete disaster for Wangen and Christiansen, 2 teammates crashing into one another, actually, look at that. Thomas Wangen putting in a 109.7. That's very fast in 15th. He might just be in the right point of the circuit to just get some clean air, as we're seeing. It's so busy. You just cannot get your pace out there as well. And Joel Evans, well, Joel Evans absolutely flying here as well, and now he makes the move on Newell, drag racing down the front straight, heading down towards the sweeper and Coca-Cola corner. As we see, Newell is worried more about Matthias Beer, and that allows Evans to escape, and Matthias Beer, well, that's a very BMW driver behaviour there, flashes his lights, and through he goes. Good move there from Matthias Beer, a wee bit of contact, but you know, there it is. But Joel Evans now, I think Joel Evans will run that tank dry now that he's got the clear track.
Yeah, I think so. Unless maybe he just wants to cover up the others as losing a Velikov in 3rd place. And apologies, Velikov in 4th place. Just someone running slightly off the road, trying to make that move on Newell. He was not happy when Beer managed to get past him. There was a little bit of contact down into 2, but before that there was a little bit of change of direction down the straight. It's a little bit late from Newell to make that block into turn 1. But Beer is past, and Newell with obviously good pace might be able to stay ahead of Velikov. Sokolowski's in a tricky situation. He needs to start making these moves. He's only a 10.5 behind there at the moment. Remember, he came from last to the win at Montreal. He's going to do a similar task at starting this race in 10th place. Has he been able to get past down the inside? Looks as though he has. He's back up into 4th position now as Patrick. And he's now next up got Will Newell just ahead.
Yeah, Patrick Sokolowski, good move there. Needed to get that done. Up to 4th place now. You can see Joel Evans ahead, but it's going to be hard work. We must also note that although Patrick Sokolowski was dominant at Montreal, Joel Evans was caught up in quite a big incident, and that kind of spoiled his whole evening in round 1. And of course, had the double victory last time at Charlotte, and he's really proving he's an early favourite for the championship. However, all the way back in 15th place, look at that, Thomas Wangen, a 109.174, the fastest lap of anyone, including Evans, and that is just pure clean air. So now, who would have thought we'd be looking at the guy in 1st and the guy in 15th as they match lap times, but that is what it's going to be like with the strategy, as Joel Evans goes quicker again. For him, 109.1, 1.1 seconds quicker than Matthias Beer in 2nd.
How far behind these guys was Wangen? Because he had that spin, and it's such a shame that he did. I think he was probably about 8 seconds behind these guys, so they've probably got about 5 or 6 laps for them to be safe. But if I was Sokolowski, I'd be coming in right now, protect that move against the Vikings card. Both of them are going to be coming back at him strong, and really, and of course get the undercut on Beer and Newell as well. Maybe even put some pressure on Evans as well. So he's still not opting in though, and he did leave it a while at Charlotte Motor Speedway, although he was racing a little bit higher than this position this time 2 weeks ago. Beer after passing Newell, so there the favour might be returned. Newell with once again exceptional pace, and he looks and he's trying to pressurise the driver just ahead.
Tell you what, what's really impressing me is how well the Porsches are handling the curbs, even big curb strikes, big launches over the curbs. Well, the Porsches are just on rails, and that all comes down to the way the cars are set up. So great job by our Apex Racing Academy coaches. As we see, Beer's off, Beer's in the wall. Oh my goodness me, again, Coca-Cola corner. Well, dearie me, fizzes off the track there does Matthias Beer, and he's got big damage. Look at that, his car crabbing about all over the place. We've got Villegas off in the background as well. And Matthias Beer is going to have to limp that BMW round. It's got big suspension damage. He will get to use his fast repair, but that's a disaster for Matthias Beer.
Done the hard work, hasn't he? Some tough moves, and he's done the exact same thing as what Wangen did, of course, in race 1, but with fast worse consequences. Does get a fast repair. Of course, he'll take his pit stop on this lap and get that car fixed. But shame for Beer, because a podium was probably unlikely. It's certainly possible. Certainly a top 5 was looking strong for him. Maybe a kind of best of the rest in 4th place. But so that's going to be very tricky to do now with his strategy compromise, and of course just losing a bunch of time right there. Meanwhile, Newell might be able to get or might be losing out to Sokolowski in just a moment. He seems to be doing it in a tricky part of the lap. Does Sokolowski? was actually turn 1, and he is up into second place. So opted not to come into the pits, did Patrick, and now he's got the fresh air in front of him and a little bit less fuel as well. So perhaps was the right call. Bad news for him. He's just 6 seconds to the race leader.
Yeah, that opening section, turn 1, the sweeper, very, very fast, flat out left-hander, and you kind of go through there going, oh, I pured that corner, and then you're all of a sudden you're faced with Coca-Cola corner, the very tight left, and you go, oh no, and then can't slow it down. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Indianapolis at Le Mans, where you get the first part of it right, and then you're like, oh goodness me, I can't slow down for the second part. That's caught a couple of drivers and a couple of high-profile drivers at that, Thomas Wangen and Matthias Beer. Now, where is Wangen, speaking of? He is in 13th place. Now, thanks to our SDK track software on the top right-hand side of your screen, we've got a live track map. So at the moment, he's tucked behind the AM-class runner, Pontus Overstrom, and he won't want to be stuck there for too long. He needs the clean air. If he wants to feature in this race, he's got to keep that clean air to make that early pit stop work.
Yeah, that is the risk of making your early pit stop. Going to have plenty of overtakes to make on slower drivers. Saying that, actually, he's got Overstrom just ahead of him, but then there's a 14-second gap to Chris Rear. You would expect will take his pit stop by the time that Wangen approaches, and Wangen is now up into 12th place. So you need to keep an eye on his times, and if he's still matching Joel Evans right in front, so we'll be close between Sokolowski and Wangen later on.
Definitely will. I just can't quite call this one, but Joel Evans really putting in some hot pace right now at the front. The Welshman really, really quick around this Oran Park circuit, and well, it couldn't be more different than the Charlotte Roval, the big high bankings there, but this wonderful circuit, which of course, unfortunately now it was closed in 2010 and had housing built on it, which is quite a depressing end for a wonderful circuit that's run since 1962, when the first meeting had 18 races, and the commentators, Sam, were at the top of a double-decker bus. That was the only facilities they had at the time.
Gosh, wow. Yeah, proper grassroots stuff, as the JS has just come into the pits. But no, it's a massive shame that they decided to turn this place into a hazard. I think, like, the town, I don't know what the town is, to be fair. It might even be close to a, well, probably not a city yet, but it's certainly a big town. At the moment, absolutely rapid growth, and they were desperate to build more houses. Unfortunately, this had to go for them. I know. I mean, for me, and I'm sure you as well, Peter, the first thing we'd introduce, forget restaurants, forget shops, would be a race circuit in our town. So shame that they got rid of it.
Absolutely, they've gone in the wrong direction if they're trying to bring every town needs a race circuit. That's for sure. A karting track at the absolute minimum. But yes, I believe it's actually now. It's now turned into. It's not far away from Sydney, and it's kind of, as Sydney's grown and grown and grown and sprawled out, it's kind of been part of that kind of upturn, I suppose. So not all bad, I guess, but yeah, that's what we love about sim racing, and thank goodness the iRacing software engineers got in there to scan the track before it left. I guess then it must have been one of the first on the service, I presume.
Yeah, it's probably in the first 20 or so circuits that were introduced, maybe even in the first 10. So no, fantastic that they did manage to scan it. I don't think iRacing have done that in similar situations since. Maybe a couple of ovals. I think they quickly rushed down to get a scan. Of course, this circuit I don't believe had ever been scanned before. I don't see why it would have been scanned before by any title. So that was very smart of them to do that. And yeah, hopefully maybe you can see some more classic circuits on iRacing in the future. Velikov not coming into the pit. Sokolowski just making his way past some traffic at the moment. That is him getting past Aaron Gibson, I believe, on that occasion, or maybe it was Christopher Hill.
Yeah, man. Interesting. Sokolowski just doesn't quite seem to have the same pace. He's lapping in the high 109s, almost on the border of 110, but you know, Evans and actually for that matter Wangan are in the very, very low 109. So interesting stuff here as well. I tell you what, Wangan could still be on for the podium here despite that early incident. He will be kicking himself over that. Riding on board with Marco Tolman, the Dutchman, looking back at Mark Herron, who's also quite confusingly in a Dutch livery car, if you like, bright orange, but of course running the blue and white salt from native Scotland, but two bright orange BMWs here. I think they call it in the BMW colour chart, it's called Sakir orange.
What, like the Bahrain City?
Exactly. Yes.
Aha.
Yes.
You know what do you know what the link is?
The race circuit. So most of the BMW M colours are named after tracks. I believe there's an Interlagos blue, I think, is one of them, and there's a few others that are the Suzuka grey. I think there's a Silverstone grey as well, which is apt given the weather conditions usually. Maybe they could have a Knockhill fog colour scheme. That'd be quite cool.
Oh, lovely. Yes. But no, that's a very good start. I wouldn't name my car or a paint after the Bahrain International Circuit, but fair enough for them. Tolman 1.6 seconds, still clears about a second a lap slower than Joel Evans. Further up on that last lap, actually Sokolowski just matching Wangan. So for the first time in a while, I think Sokolowski's been able to kind of put a buffer to his main rival for that second place. So that's mega early pit stop for Wangan earlier on. Velikov is doing the other thing. You've probably seen it on the timing tower on the left side of your screen, running right to the wall, and does appear like he's going to come into the pits a couple of times, but has always been able to miss it, which is catching my eye constantly on the timing screen.
Mikhail Velikov has been incredibly impressive. A 1 minute 10.0. Again, leading in the AM class. Certainly, Oran Park been very kind to him today. Now, it would be good if we can get, with our very fancy SDK graphics, if we could see who has pitted so far and who has not. That would be very handy if we could. We will try and get that information for you viewers, just to see where we are. Of course, we know there's a few guys of strategy, Wangan and Christiansen, who came into the pit right beside one another. Now, Christiansen, he's in 13th. He's just coming up to the sweeper. And his teammate Wangan is already, well, quite a way through. He's already at the Shell Corner and Champion Curve, and not far away from going over the Yokohama Bridge. So they've really stretched out.
Quite a difference at the moment between the two. I'm not quite sure how that would have opened up that far, but Christiansen just not with the pace of his teammate so far today, despite being very strong, maybe an equal to him in the first couple of meetings of the season. Today, it seems. Meanwhile, Gibson just going to be lapped. A few more of these guys near the front of the order. Herron into the pit, so he'll be trying to undercut Tolman here. So expect Tolman to perhaps come into the pits on this lap as well, just to fend off that aggressive move.
Yeah, that's what you're always, if you're getting flustered by another driver, sometimes it's a good way to just hop out the way and get in and get that pit stop done. To say those both of those cars looking very, very nice, those BMWs. Particularly, I have to say, I love that Turner Motorsport livery. They use it in all their racing cars. Turner, of course, a shop that actually is based very, very close to the iRacing headquarters. So I understand that they would have used, they would have gone to Turner to scan the BMW M4 before it came on to the service at the beginning of last season.
Are there any other good cars that they could go down to Turner Motorsports and scan?
Ooh, well, there is they'll have an M6 GT3 right now, but it will be being replaced. They've already announced they've got their name down for a couple of the new M4 GT3, which will appear in the next year or two. So perhaps maybe wait till that comes along. But yeah, Turner, really interesting story, Turner Motorsport. They actually, Will Turner used to go to track days in his BMW and basically sold imported brake discs and calipers to fellow track day buffs, and sort of turned it into a very successful auto parts business, and then sold it off.
And then you start your own racing team.
Well, I think they both went hand in hand. I think the racing happened very early on. Certainly racing himself, and actually it got to the point where the race team was becoming so successful that he actually stepped out the driving seat because he could sell the seat to very wealthy amateurs.
As right now, all the gaps between the drivers over 1 second. So they've still got a lot of kind of virtual battles currently going on with drivers coming into the pits early. Evans with a 1 minute 9.42 on that last lap, 4 tenths faster than Sokolowski. And Wangen on that last time, actually slower lap for Wangen, and he is starting to get into some traffic as well. Is the Norwegian, who's only 3.5 seconds behind Chris Rea, and then not too further up from that is Greg Hubler as well. So Wangen, after having some really good pace, matching Evans, outpacing Sokolowski when he first came into the pits, hasn't quite been the case ever since then. But yeah, of course, the drivers who have come into the pits, Wangen and Christiansen, who did get ahead of Heron, by the way, which was going to be a bit of a close one. I remember Heron was running in 7th place, I believe, just behind Marco Tolman before he came into the pit. So that's approximately where Christiansen is now after that spin he had with his teammate earlier on. And then Bia behind the pair there, Vijagas as well, just sitting behind, and Hill and Silcock also with their pit stops complete so far. But currently are not out on circuit. Overstrom being caught now by Christiansen, and it should be easy enough for him. But Overstrom with slightly better pace in this second race, 11.3 on that last lap, which is matching some of the top AM drivers. But doesn't seem to be a big fan of this place. Certainly the BMW not helping on that regard.
No, definitely not. Interestingly, the AM class, quite a lot of BMWs in that class, very few in the pros. We see Jeff Miner looking to go to pit lane, I think. But yeah, Pontus Overstrom, don't forget that he is the joint championship leader coming into this meeting. A pretty disastrous race one with an lap 1 incident, but running pretty good here at the moment. He is 5th in class, is Overstrom, and is he going to go into pit lane? Oh, it gets me every time. It's like he's running so close to the wall there as well. I thought he was going for into pit lane. Interestingly, Matthias Beer has dropped off the lead lap now. He's in 14th. We just saw him being lapped by Evans a couple of laps ago. So yeah, the field is quite spread out. Just seeing a Wangen watch. He's just going over the Yokohama Bridge right now, but he has quite heavy traffic in front of him as Rear, Hubler and Tolman all in front. Now, I don't know if they've come into pit lane yet to take their pit stop.
Yeah, still Wangen, the leader of the drivers who have taken the pit stop so far in front of him. Still yet to take that one. This is just when you're in the situation for Wangen just praying, come on guys, come into the pits. I'm going to overtake you anyway. And lose time. Just come into the pits, make my life a little bit easier. Oh, that was very slow and could have been a lot worse. What was going on there? Ria and Hubler going alongside. And I don't know why Hubler was so desperate to come into the pits. I mean, just carry on, do another lap. They got fuel to do it. And yet he almost came to a halt in order to get in.
That's bizarre. Yeah, absolutely bizarre. I mean, unless he was trying a Juan Pablo Montoya brake check from the IMSA race at Road Atlanta a few weeks ago, maybe, I don't know. As that was proven, that wasn't a good idea for anybody. But yeah, that was a really, really strange one. Maybe just thought, oh, maybe it was somebody he wanted to cover. I don't know. Let's get another look at it then. Riding on board with Thomas Wangen, one of our fastest guys on track. Oh, little rub of the wall there for Wangen, and he oh, goodness me. He does very, very well to keep it out the back of Hubler there. But, I mean, Sam, I know you do quite a bit of stewarding. How would you see that one?
Unfortunately, I'm not doing the decisions for this race, so I can leave a little bit more opinion on this. I mean, if there was contact, then it would have certainly been worthy of a penalty. I think would be fascinating to hear from him later on after the race. Why he came into the pits? I mean, why wouldn't you just continue? You can see Evans and Sokolowski and Newell all happily continuing. Yeah, Newell should be able to go about 32 minutes in this race. So odd one, very very odd occasion there. It's not the best pit exit either, pit entry here either. Would be pretty good if it kind of just extended off the final corner, but so it's halfway down the pit straight. Newell with contact, and Velikov nearly getting underneath him.
That was very, very close indeed. It's so narrow here at Oran Park, and Velikov, he's getting in there as well. 4th overall. Brilliant drive. And now here we go with the pit stop. So Thomas Wangen is the top man on track right now who has stopped, my apologies. So Tolman, Pollard, Velikov, Newell, Sokolowski and Evans, they all have to come into pit lane. So I tell you what, this is with just over 13 minutes to go. This is going to be fascinating to see where Thomas Wangen's going to come out after the pit stop. Yeah, of course, with it being close to the end of the race, of course they won't need to spend that long in pit lane, Sam, because they won't need that much fuel to get into the end.
Yeah, so although they do start with the same amount of fuel, of course, they should still have to use the same amount of fuel across the events. So far the pit stop times have ranged from about 5.92, the shortest one for Heron, 6.15 for Wangen, so potentially left a little bit on the table, and has he left a bit more on the table again here, as he's done the old trick of understaying through turn 1, and that is a huge hit for Wangen. Is he going to be able to continue? I mean, the bonnet looks alright, and the steering looks alright as well. That is a miracle for the Team Vikings Cup, but any hope of him beating Sokolowski surely have come to an end with that unforced error.
That's such a pity, and it's frustrating as well, I'm sure, for Thomas, that's pretty much a carbon copy of the mistake he made in race 1. Such a pity, because that was a really intriguing battle, watching Wangen just having taken that early pit stop, got that damage repaired, taking his fast repair and running to the end, and what a pity indeed. But perhaps Sokolowski and Newell as well can perhaps maybe get a sigh of relief seeing Wangen end up in the wall. And once again, Coca-Cola corner. Well, it's we know that Coca-Cola has a high sugar content, but that the gravel trap there is pretty sticky, with plenty of cars ending up in that gravel trap.
Yeah, it's seemingly the most tricky corner on this circuit. So narrow through that turn 1, and once he dip away onto the grass, especially with this new or a newish tyre model, off track is very, very slippery. Pulled him into the wall. Pollard into the pits. He was just behind these guys, was he? Or maybe he was a couple of seconds further back. Was Pollard before. So trying to maybe do the undercut on Newell and Velikov. I'm shocked that Velikov hasn't already come to the pits. To be honest, he has the pace advantage on Newell, and I think one lap in clear air would be able to would allow him to clear the Australian, but he hasn't yet opted to take that option. That gap actually just moving up to 9/10 of a second. Good response here from Newell after being nearly overtaken by Velikov a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, Velikov's been incredibly impressive tonight, but so is Tolman too. You know, the Dutchman in the BMW. It's not a BMW circuit, as we mentioned, and maintaining good pace. Now, both Velikov and Tolman have to come to pit lane. They have not taken their stop yet. So they're obviously going for the run the car dry and then go into pit lane for just a tiny little splash at the end. And it's of course that strategy has got to be so fluid, doesn't it, Sam? Because you know it's all about where you are on track and if you're being held up or not. As Velikov does come in, so he's come into pit lane. This will not need much fuel, just 10 laps or so worth of fuel, and that will get him to the end.
Should be stationary for about 7 seconds or so. Velikov finally goes for that move, and now Newell will have lower fuel on this lap. Velikov will have to put in an almighty lap, and of course be very quick in his pit stall as well. It's a long pit lane around here. I think that was 27 seconds Velikov was in. Admittedly, I think our pit stop sensor starts before you even come into the pits. It's quite sensitive to that. 6.45, so a pretty average pit stop for Velikov. Has he come out ahead of Pollard? No, Pollard ahead. So I think Pollard's just undercuts him there. Brilliant strategic option there for Sapsoid Blue. And the 173 up into 5th place. That will be, and they're both ahead of Wangen as well, because with Wangen's mistake, they're both well clear of Wang by about 7 seconds. Of course, Wang now with a damage as well. He would have probably been ahead of these guys if it weren't for that off Coca-Cola curve. So Pollard could be in for a P4 as Newell responds straight away. And if this is more than 7 seconds stationary, then Pollard might be up into effective third place.
Could be, yeah, because of course Marco Tolman in the AM class BMW has to come in as well. As we see Will Newell coming into pit lane right now in his Team Iridium Porsche, coming in from third place. Where will he come out? Of course, we haven't seen Evans or Sokolowski in yet. Marco Tolman's still going round, so he's now into third spot, but of course still hasn't come into pit lane. But I think for Marco, he's got some nice clean air there, so he can just click off some hot laps if he can, and that might just give him the jump on Velikov for the AM class win. We'll just need to wait and see. Newell gets out just in front of Pollard. Yes, there's Pollard in the background, so that battle will rage on for the final 8 minutes or so.
Good pit stop time actually for Newell there, 5.28 seconds. That's the shortest pit stop we've had so far. Gained about 1.2 seconds on Pollard and came out of the pits about 1.6 seconds clear. So it would have been mega close if it weren't for that quick pit stop, and he held up and he would have been toast. Evans into the pits and Sokolowski as well to move. That is the extent of the field, and we expect them to come out in the same order. Evans 6.42. Average pit stop on that way, and Sokolowski 6.23, and he will come out in second place. Torman, of course, still yet to come into the pit. Maybe the BMW is a little bit better on fuel because he's managed to edge out a bit longer than the others.
Yeah, it certainly has. I do remember the BMW M4 and M3. Oh, a little bit of oversteer there. In road trim has probably one of the most ambitious miles per gallon figures that you'll ever see. I think they claim something like 35 miles to the gallon, and if you get half that, you're doing well. One of these lab tests, which is incredibly inaccurate. But Marco Tolman doing a great job here. Now, this is interesting. He's split Evans and Sokolowski. I'm sure it won't be long before he comes in, but that's interesting. Joel Evans is cleared off in the distance there, but Sokolowski, this is not what Sokolowski needs, having Tolman in front. But with just 7 minutes left, Tolman's surely got to be running that tank pretty dry by now.
Yeah, you would think so. You may as well come into the pits now. You lose so much time being overtaken by another driver. It's maybe a little bit more prominent in single seats, so you got a bit more turbulence, but even in these cars, you get put offline and you lose a few tenths of a second. And that does look like the BMW is going to come into the pits. I mean, that is such a dangerous pit entry. You're pretty much braking for the pit entry on the pit straight, and so you've always got to be wary when you're sitting by. Tolman should come out. Who was he batsing for? He was batsing a Heron, wasn't he? I believe. I think he was just ahead of Mark Heron, but Heron's miles back, so I think Tolman should be able to hang on to maybe 8th place. Might even be around Mateus Beer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that solidifies Velikov's place, commanding lead at the front of the AM class. So if Mihail Velikov can maintain this position in the number in his Porsche, then he will definitely take the lead in the AM class championship after a double victory today. It's not been the best of nights for Pontus Overström. Marco Tolman not too bad, sitting second in class right now, so he only lose a tiny bit to Velikov. But yeah, it's gonna rattle on all season, isn't it? It's we've had 3 very different circuits so far. We've had Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the streets in Montreal. We've had the Charlotte Roval, and here at Oran Park, and yeah, it's really a good test to find out who's the best driver in each class. And at the moment, Joel Evans is putting his claim to that title right now.
Credit to the IMSA Michelin Pilot Series for offering so many different races or different tracks so far this season. A real unique mix, which is admirable, considering that of course they run the TCRs as well, so you need to have a kind of appropriate circuit for multi-class racing. I would say this is one of them, and yet they've gone for some pretty gutsy decisions. I think Alton Park we might visit later on in the season as well. Tricky situation coming up for Team Bike Kings, with Thomas Wangen with damage, lapping about a second slower due to that damage, and he's being caught by his teammate Roger Christiansen. Only 1.5 seconds between them in 6th and 7th places. There was about 15 seconds between them before Wangen's off. And they may need to change those positions, or they may think Wangen maybe has a slightly better chance in the championship after that second place in race 1. Of course, so far a very good season as well. But yeah, down to 1.2 seconds now. So they might be free to race the Team Vikings car. They may not, but these two, Newell and Pollard, they're certainly free to race. I'm sure Pollard would love to score I believe what would be his first podium of the season. It would be.
Yeah, very close indeed between them, and I'm sure for Team Vikings in 6th and 7th, Wangen and Christensen, well, I don't know what Norwegian for Fernando is faster than you. Do you understand this message? I wonder what... and right now, yeah, Thomas Wangen lapping about 1.5 seconds off what he is capable of. So actually, all things considered, that's actually not bad, considering how big of an off he had, and took relatively little damage considering. But yeah, Mike Pollard, he's not going to let Newell have this podium easy. Only 3.5 minutes to go, but he's hustling hard as well. They're not far ahead of Velikov in the hand class right now. But I have to say, I've really enjoyed commentating on this series so far. I have to say, I do like a slightly alternative circuit choice. I sometimes, as impressive as places like Silverstone and Spa are, I do kind of get, sometimes you can get a wee bit tired of them sometimes. I do like these slightly misfit tracks like Oran Park and Roval and things like that. Much more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, after a while, Monza, Spa, Silverstone, as you say, do get a tad old. What Cairns and say Daytona as well. So yeah, it's good to see these. So I mean, I've never seen a race outside of V8s or V8 supercars around this circuit. So very refreshing to come here. Also love with these small circuits, the fact that you can always see what's going on in the background. You're riding on board, and yet you see a different part of the circuit and a whole different battle is going on. We see that a lot in the Roval, where after about 20 minutes of racing, wherever you're watching, you can see a couple of other cars right in the background. Certainly prominent here, particularly around turn 3 of the circuit. Pollard just stopping his intensity on Newell actually with a 9.77. He was the fastest driver on the circuit. Was the Australian on that last lap. So he's sort of found something after he's just struggling for pace coming out of the pits. He's been able to put a gap between him and his rival, and it will be 3 more laps to go for those drivers. But seeing that the race leader is so far ahead, he's going to force an extra lap for everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah, and his teammate there just makes absolutely no difficulty for Joel Evans to come through, and it looks like, yep, he will take the white flag next time around, will Joel Evans, and put together another excellent double victory, 2 double victories in a row then it'll be for Joel Evans. Fantastic stuff from the Welshman. And next time out we're off to Mid-Ohio, which is another tight and twisty, fickle little circuit, but it does have one very long back straight, so the BMWs might have it a tiny bit easier in 1 week's time.
Yeah, should be a slight advantage for him. I mean, it's not going to get a whole lot worse than this circuit. To be honest, this is going to be their toughest round of the season, you would expect. But no, we will certainly be fantastic to visit Mid-Ohio, but still probably the Porsche of the year. There might even be a BOP, to be fair, seeing that there is such a difference, it seems, since the new build between the 2 cars. So there might even be some ballast added to the Porsche. But I think whatever you're going to do, I think it's still going to be the car to go for Mid-Ohio. But then, of course, Daytona, Road Atlanta and Kota should be much more even between the 2 machines towards the end of the season.
Absolutely. Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the Weissach brand Porsche right now, with the top BMW, actually an Clash runner, Marco Tolman, with Matthias Beer in 9th after his early mistake. He had an outside chance of a podium, as you said, and yeah, unfortunately not to be. But we see Joel Evans comes around through the O'Brien aluminium dogleg for the last time through Recaro corner. He will take his seat at the top of the championship. Joel Evans, your double winner here at Oran Park in the Apex Racing Academy GT4 VRS Super Series, as Patrick Sokolowski not too far behind. So, you know, if you can't get to victory circle, second is the next best, and that is what Patrick Sokolowski has done And I can see that championship battle is going to rage on all season long. And Will Newell for Team Iridium just going to hold off Pollard to the line, it seems. And there's Mihail Velikov taking the victory in the AM class as well.
Yeah, because the points being split equally then by Evans and Sokolowski tonight with a win each and a second place each as well. And of course, they were pushed by Wang. Wang was so quick in race 1, but mistakes from him. He did stay ahead of Christiansen, who was slowing up near the end just to allow his teammate to get that 6th place, or just didn't want to risk the battling. So Wang doesn't lose too many points, but you cannot afford to make the mistakes that he's made today and still have a chance at the championship. A few others coming across the line as well. Mark Heron and also Chris Rick, Greg Hubler as well to cross line. Quite a few one-lap down as well. Such is the shortness of this circuit. But yeah, the Evans and Sokolowski, they've had some good wheel-to-wheel battles so far this season. I don't believe they've overtaken one another so far this season. I may be correct. Sokolowski may have got past him in race 2 at Montreal. I'm not quite sure. But Evans is certainly a good rival to the Polish driver, something that we didn't expect after Montreal.
Absolutely not. No, he was hampered by a really unfortunate incident. We never really got to see his proper pace, and well, he's certainly shown it at the Charlotte Roval and here at Oran Park. And well, Mid-Ohio is going to be a brilliant battle, I'm sure, between Joel Evans and Patrick Sokolowski. There certainly seems to me, Sam, that they have really elevated themselves onto a different level from the rest of their competitors. But Thomas Wangen might not agree with that. He looked to have the pace, but just wasn't able to be as consistent as Evans or Sokolowski.
Yeah, and of course, both of his big errors were at the first corner as well, weren't they? And I'm not sure if it was Christiansen or whether it was Wangen who spun at the start of this race 2. So I'm not sure if it was Wangen losing it by himself or had nowhere to go when Christian spun in front of him. But that was a shame, especially as Wangen got such an awesome start as well. I think he managed to clear Evans straight away off the line. Apologies, no, Wangen was behind Evans. Just near the start, but ahead of Sokolowski still, and lost the opportunity to maybe take a few points back in the championship hunt. But yeah, look at that gap between Evans and Sokolowski. That is quite a gauntlet to set.
It certainly is indeed. 12.5 seconds. Joel Evans takes the win from Patrick Sokolowski. Will Newell taking the last spot on the podium for Team Iridium with Mike Pollard in 4th. Mihail Velikov made a brilliant day for him in the AM Class Championship, 5th overall, great performance. Thomas Wangen, well, a story of what could have been for the Norwegian and also for his teammate Roger Christensen, who was involved in that inter-team clash early on in the race. Marco Tolman finishes 2nd in AM and 8th overall in his BMW. Matthias Beer in the very groovy Austin Powers BMW finishes 9th. And Mark Heron rounds out the top 10 overall and 3rd in AM. Chris Rear was 11th with Greg Hubler in 12th, followed by Jeff Miner. Pontus Overstrom, a disastrous day for the Swede, and Aaron Gibson in 15th. Jorge Villegas finishes 16th. Christopher Hill was 17th. And finally, Mark Silcock for Team Hutch, who crashed at the opening corner of the race, was 18th. So, now let's see if we have a number of drivers to come and chat to us, Sam. So why don't we have a little bit of a word with the winner, Joel Evans.
You like a dog?
Joel Evans, congratulations on another fantastic win. Tell us about your day at Oran Park.
Yeah, it was actually really good fun battling with the guys up front. I was actually surprised looking at Patrick and Thomas in practice. They were ridiculously quick. They were in the 108. So to be up P2 and then P1 was a surprise, actually.
Well, you certainly did a great job. And how did you find it getting through the pack, particularly in the reverse grid race in the feature? It's so tight around Oran Park. Where were you able to make some moves?
Yeah, I like the last corner was a good one for me. The people don't track all the way to the wall. So I was able to sort of sneak in at that pit entry bit and go around the outside on the exit. So I think I might have got 2 Porsches there. but you can't get beamers there really because the BMW's really quick in a straight line.
And of course, next time off, we're out to Mid-Ohio, another really quite twisty circuit. Oh, one big long back straight, but pretty tight and twisty. How do you get on at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course?
Yeah, I've done a bit of practice already. I think it's looking pretty good. But again, Patrick Thomas looking quick as always. Teammate Greg is also really quick around Mid-Ohio, so I think that's someone to look out for as well. Sort of mixing it up with the pros.
Absolutely, indeed. And we before we let you go to go and enjoy that win today in the Apex Racing Academy GT4 series, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to live on the broadcast, Joe?
I'd like to just say thanks to all the Samsley team, the Mike, Chris, and Greg doing practice together, and definitely helping as a group for all of us to improve.
Well, thanks so much for coming to join us in the commentary box, Joel, and good luck in a week's time at Mid-Ohio. So that was our winner then, Joel Evans, and I believe my colleague Sam Fitzpatrick is speaking with the second place man, Patrick Sokolowski.
Yeah, second place in race 2 and also the race win in race 1. Congratulations, Patrick, out there. That was a lot of pressure in race 1. I mean, we saw lots of errors for other drivers. Were you close to anything like that out there?
No, I think it was a really calm race from my side. Was just controlling the gap because anyway, if you are not under 0.3 seconds behind someone, then there's almost no chance to overtake. So yeah, that was safe.
And then race 2, we saw you get caught up in a little bit of traffic. You had to get a few moves done in the early stages. Was it tempting for you to come into the pits early and kind of clear them that way, or were you determined to just run as far as you could on that first tank?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but yeah, I didn't want to risk to be in the traffic again. So, I just decided to go and go the full tank and then just refuel as little fuel as possible.
And then Mid-Ohio, of course, next up. Have you turned any laps around that circuit in this car?
Yeah, actually, I was driving other league there last season, so I know the track, so should be okay.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for that one, Patrick. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
My wife, she's watching probably. So yeah, and also my team, all guys from my team. So yeah, just it's nice to have them, and yeah, of course, yeah. That's it.
Awesome. Well, you got the first one was the big one, so well done, Patrick. And we'll see
Thank you.
you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
So that was Patrick Sokolowski. And finally, we have Will Newell, who is going to come in to join us and have a chat. So let's see if we can bring him along. Will Newell, welcome to the Apex Racing TV commentary box. Congratulations on a great run today. Tell us about how your day was at Oran Park.
Not too bad. Struggled in the first race a bit. Just a few mistakes. Second race went okay. I just knew I had to come out of the pits in front of the two behind me.
Well, it's certainly
Just went from there.
the strategy certainly worked. Now, we've been on the broadcast for the last hour or two. We've been marvelling over the wonderful Oran Park. Of course, the circuit not there anymore. Of course, was closed about 10 years ago. If any, of course, a circuit which obviously in Australia will be known well. Is there any stories you can share with us about this venue?
It was gone when I was born. I
Wow.
haven't been around to see it.
Wow, that is mighty impressive as well. So, how old are you then, Will?
Like 14.
Ah, I see. I see. Well, it's good that it's still available here on the iRacing service. Next time we're off to Mid Ohio. Have you been able to get a few laps of practice in already for that round?
I haven't done any laps yet, but last season I did a heap in the TCR, so I got a bit of a head start there, hopefully.
Absolutely. And while you're live here on Apex Racing TV and the iRacing Esports Network, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
My mum for letting me get up early to race. Over here in Australia, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and Iridium Motorsports for all their help.
Well, I admire your commitment getting up at such an early hour. We hope you enjoyed it. Well done on the podium, and we'll see you next week at Mid Ohio. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, sir.
Unacceptable. It's too young. Too young.
That's incredible.
Children.
Those were the days, eh, Sam?
Well, absolutely. If only I was that good at when I was 14.
I know. And if my mum said, well, that she would say if I said, oh, I'm going to get up to have a race online tomorrow at 5 o'clock, she would just laugh it off, saying, "There's no way you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning," and she'd be right, as she often was.
On a school day as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So Will Newell's mum is certainly very cool lady. Let him have a go and have a race. So that's about all we have time for today on Apex Racing TV and the iRacing Esports Network here for this GT4 series. We're back in 7 days' time, same time again, 1910 GMT for the next round of the championship at Mid Ohio. The battle heating up in both the Pro and Am classes, so don't miss out, and we'll see you there in 1 week's time. Thanks for watching here on Apex Racing TV.